Hi, Mark here from the Tangent-Bound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangent-Bound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangent-Bound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangentBoundNetwork.com and see if Tangent-Bound Network is right for you.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, so stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen. I am your hostess for the evening. And with me, we have Brian. Hey, Brian.
Howdy.
And Heno is out doing Heno things. Now, unfortunately, Heno couldn't join us today. He's got a very busy schedule. He does have a beautiful new car that he has treated himself with. So go out to his Facebook page and let him know how awesome his car is. And you need to ask him if it has a name yet, because that's one of the big things. He needs to name the car.
Okay.
So, yes.
I don't know if guys, it's weird because I've known guys who do that, and I've known a bunch of guys who don't. You know, it's usually like guys seem to do that when they have a special car. Like if it's a premium car or a hot rod or something like that, you know. But I've noticed a lot of other guys don't seem to do that. You know, like my sister, she has a brand new Jeep that she named, you know. So I don't know if that's something everybody does or not. I don't know.
I don't know. The car, my current car doesn't really have a name.
Yeah.
But my favorite car that I ever had was my orange Jeep.
Oh.
And that was her name was Pumpkin.
Oh, okay. That's not the car I expected you to say. When you said favorite car, I figured you were going to talk about your roller skate with the graphics down the side.
I still talk about that car all
What was
the
that?
time.
That car that car had a name, didn't it?
I don't remember.
Okay. The only car name I can remember is was it Trixie that was the Was that the Rendezvous?
Saturn.
Or Saturn? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the Saturn II. So, folks, to catch you up to speed, because Brian and I are backtracking, obviously, but when I was in college, my early college years, I had a white Mitsubishi Mirage hatchback that I fell in love with this car when I walked on the used car lot, because it had pink, purple, and turquoise streamers down either side. In the back, it said cruising low in purple. And it was just the most fabulous thing I've seen. And the guy, my friends nicknamed it the pregnant roller skate because it literally looked like a little girl's roller skate.
Yes.
So the first oil change I got on the car, I took it in. They put it up on the, on the lift.
Yeah.
And the guy comes out looking quite worried, and I said, "What's wrong?" He's like, "We didn't break them." I'm like, "Didn't break what?" It's like, "Your undercarriage lights." I said, "Oh, I have undercarriage."
Right.
He's like, "Yeah, that switch in the glove box there." And I'm like, "Oh, I did not realize I had these." And sure enough, I had purple undercarriage lights, fluorescents, that I could turn on if I wanted to.
Wow.
I never replaced the bulbs because even I, back then, felt that would be a little much.
Right.
But the fact that I had the option,
Yeah.
I loved that. So yes, I loved that car, and unfortunately, it met its demise when it hit a steel Toyota truck bumper at, or no, it was a Ford, steel Ford bumper going 15 miles an hour.
Mhm.
The bumper laughed, like it got tickled.
Yeah.
My little Mitsubishi Mirage, gone.
Yep.
She was gone.
Yep.
But that was the one that led to me being sued twice by the guy because I ruined his marriage.
Clee Dangler.
Yes, folks, that is not a fake name. His name was Klee, Klee Dangler.
Yeah.
And I have the court paperwork where he tried to sue me because he couldn't perform for his wife because of his back issues caused by that accident.
Yep.
And his wife divorced him.
Which is funny because on the surface, you think about the concept of a big pickup truck and a roller skate rolling into the back of it. And it was just like, dude, come on. And I'm not minimizing that somebody could, because even at 15 miles an hour, you can be hurt. But it's just that when you take a step back and you think of if you were watching it, you'd be like, there's no way the guy in the truck even felt it. Meanwhile, your car was like, exploding and doing flips and all that kind of stuff. But his truck was probably like,
Exactly.
did something touch me?
Exactly. And before anyone would think any different, he had prior history of back issues. It was very,
Yeah.
very obvious, very, very quickly that this was a fraudulent lawsuit.
Yeah.
Allegedly. There was so much stacked up in that direction.
Right.
So we would never make light of someone actually getting injured.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But it was just that name. I'll never forget that name. It's just.
I couldn't believe it when I received the court paperwork.
Yeah.
I'm like, his name is what? And he is suing me for what?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a legit thing. I mean, because if you do have a back injury, it for sure could make it very difficult to, perform the maritals, So, but anyway, yeah. So I really thought that little roller skate was going to be your favorite car.
No.
Because of your Jeep, you could have hung that car as a mirror decoration probably in your Jeep.
Correct.
Yeah, it was that
Yes,
small.
My Mitsubishi could fit inside my Jeep.
Yeah.
I had a Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk limited edition Mango Tango, which was a pearl orange.
Right. Yeah, one of them newfangled colors.
Oh, I loved her.
Yeah.
She was lease, and I would have owned her. But my then husband decided that since he couldn't make it go into ninth gear, and they promised him it would go into ninth gear, that it must be defective and they needed to go back.
Sure, that makes sense.
Why I would need ninth gear, I have
Well, what if you had to climb a ton of rocks?
It had a button.
I know.
That's why one of the coolest things about the Cherokees, I'm not sure if any other of the Jeep line have them, but they have this little dial that has pictures on it. And one is a snowflake, one is a hill, and one is kind of like a rocky thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember what the other one is. Oh, it might be rain. But
I think it is.
what you do is when you get in the car, whatever's going on outside, you just turn your dial to whatever matches what you're dealing with, and it'll adjust make all the adjustments necessary to the suspension and all that and the whatevers.
Right.
So you just give it a minute, you're like, ding, there's snow, and it does its thing, and it's supposed to run much better in the snow.
Right.
So,
yeah,
again, made perfectly for someone like me.
Right.
I'm like, I have no idea what gear, what, I have no idea about any of this.
Yeah.
There's a button. Neat.
Right.
Anyhow, I guess enough car talk. But...
Yeah.
So how have you been, dude? What's going on?
Oh, not too bad. It was nice last week to, get out with y'all and socialize a little bit. And I actually, and 2 days before I hung out with Tony. So it was, it was nice because I really hadn't been. My brother came over on one of the days and kind of hung out for a while too. So it was, quite a bit of it. And my sister came over actually both of my sisters came over last week. Yeah, back to back actually, which is very rare. But especially the one that's just had multiple surgeries. So, it's good to see her again and see her out and whatever, even though, it's also a kick in the gut seeing her weak, because you know how it is. Like, my family is strong people. We're all stubborn. We're strong-willed. So to see any one of us in a weaker state sucks, right? Like, and it really is that way with any family member. Like when my brother had open heart and, the first time I saw him afterwards, he was much better, but you could tell he still wasn't 100%, he wasn't back to himself just yet, where he's still being cautious, walking around and, or like, when the other sister had, oh God, what was it? Was it knee surgery? No, it was like Achilles surgery. That's what it was, and seeing her on like that scooter kind of a thing and whatever, it's just that those reminders of, yeah, anything can happen to people, but it's also like, my one sister yesterday turned 60, my oldest sister. Yeah. She's 15 years older than me. So yeah. So, and I turned 45 in basically a month. So, so yeah, she hit 60 and it's, one of my brothers hits 50 this year, and, three of my other siblings are getting real close. I mean, they're moving towards 60, so it's like, oh yeah, we're all getting old, like we're not that younger group of kids anymore, so, and it's, you hate seeing anything that reminds you of mortality, in life. And I'm not saying anybody, like, with my one sister, it's a little different because, the stuff she just went through could have been like, could be life-threatening stuff. But, she's doing good. And, hopefully everything will be, great going forward. And it's just going to take her a while to just gain some more weight back and gain strength. So, but yeah, it was a lot of socializing because I hadn't really been doing much socializing. And then all of a sudden I'm socializing like every day. And by the weekend, like Saturday, I was done, like I woke up Saturday and I was like, I just need to not do that. Cause we talked, we hung out Friday and you were like, well, I'm free, blah, blah. And it's just like, I'm just gonna, let's just push this to next week kind of thing. Cause I can't, I got nothing left, so,
Sure.
Also with all that socializing, like I'd been talking a lot. So, I noticed, so my throat was a little scratchy on Saturday too. So I was like, it's probably best to just rest everything. And I slept most of the day. And then, I had a couple days where I had some migraines. So that sucked. That just shuts me down, and, whatever. It's like, even yesterday, it was beautiful out yesterday. And the night before I got like 3 hours of sleep, cause my head was hurting so bad, I got up and it's like, well, I have things I have to go do, so I went and did those things. And I'm like, well, on the upside, I'm tired and it's like 5:00, so when I fall asleep, I should sleep really well tonight. Now, like I told you, I did, but I also, I woke up today and I had slept with my arm all curled up and my neck crimped. So, now today I feel like I was, I feel like I was in a car wreck, like I'm all sore in my arm and my shoulder and my neck. And, it's like, like you said, it's just, well, welcome to your 40s, it's like, you slept wrong. So now you're going to hurt for a week.
that.
But, overall I'm okay, but I'm also, money's been tight, and you know how money's my number one spiral causer, and it's fine. It's not that there's anything really bad. It's just, it's one of those, like, I sell stuff occasionally on eBay, and it's been lately it's been make a $20 sale, something comes up that's $20, like immediately. And it's like, it's like I can't really grow any money in my bank account to have. And that, and that's part of the reason why I don't go out and do much. I mean, I don't drive and different stuff, but it's like, I don't go do a lot because, for me to go out more than once every couple weeks or something like that can be problematic financially, because it's, it sounds silly, but it's like the things I utilize the most end up being my streaming services, so it's like, I don't want to get rid of those to be able to go out, because I don't go out a lot. I don't have tons of opportunities to go out a lot. Right. So, so yeah, so it's like, I want to make sure that those things can be paid for and whatnot, and whatever. So it like I said, it's nothing really bad. It's just anytime, like I think I've mentioned it on here before. Jen knows this. Is like anytime I can't afford something that's like $10 or $15, it really makes me uncomfortable. And it's because I grew up in a scarcity mindset, even though we always had food and shelter, all that kind of stuff. It was one of those things that my parents rarely could just get something they wanted. We didn't eat fast food a ton because it was like, well, if we do that, that cuts into the food budget for whatever, so it's like, that's why, growing up, pizza was a treat, those kind of things. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm so like, I want pizza once a week kind of a thing, is I think that's what it is it's that if I hit a point where I can't afford to get a pizza, it makes me really feel, because it's like, we didn't have a lot growing up, but we always were able to get pizza once a week, like we'd get Little Caesars, because it was $10 for 2 pizzas,
A little litmus test for ourselves.
Yeah, and I understand I've got issues with money that, I really probably should join a group similar to the one Heno got himself into to kind of help with the mental approach to finances and being able to separate them from esteem and other things. And I've gotten better about it, but it's still, I don't like it,
Sure.
Because like I said, if you're out somewhere and there's something you see that maybe you want, or you just want to grab some food while you're out or something that's like $10 or $15, and you're just like, I better not, and I'm not saying all the time, but it's just it just bugs me. So, that's been bugging me. But I've also been really bad about, like, I still need to make my therapy appointment. I haven't redone that yet. And my therapy appointment, my last one was scheduled for, a month and a half or 2 months ago, and I missed it, and I still haven't rescheduled even. And from the point of rescheduling, there's going to be a month or so probably wait, so it's like,
true.
And I got a dental, I got one filling I still need to get that I couldn't make it to that appointment. I need to reschedule that. It's just, I've just been so bad about this stuff, and just the ability to schedule things for myself. I've really, really been finding it difficult to get myself up to leave the house. Like, I'm noticing that's becoming more of a problem for me. So that's, where first of all, I need to, get into therapy and talk with them, and then talk with my psychiatrist about, make sure this isn't a point where maybe I need, I don't think I need a medicine change, like, I don't think that's really it. I think it's more of a therapy situation. I think it's more of something of practice versus medicine, because I don't necessarily feel more anxious or more depressed, but I think what it is I feel like I'm settling more and more into being a hermit, basically. That's becoming more and more comfortable to me, because I'm finding even to go to, like, the post office, the grocery store, my brain is immediately starting to do the the reasoning why you shouldn't, or oh, you can go tomorrow, or those kind of things, and then all I want to do is sleep. So it's I need to approach that stuff. I definitely, it's affecting me negatively, and it's time for it's time to try to figure it out, see what's going on. So, but overall, like, I feel okay. Like, I don't feel like I'm in a depression spiral. I don't feel like anxiety's really gripping me, even though it is, obviously. Now, something that I'm fully aware of is that my anxiety runs at a certain level, and it's probably really simple when you're used to having high anxiety for it to creep, right? Like, if it just ramps up, you go, whoa, because you feel different. But if it's at an 8 and tomorrow it's at a 9 and then it's at a 9.5 and a 9.7, right? You may not notice, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I'm at a 12, like,
Yeah.
like, what's going on here? So that's why I want to make sure I talk to my psychiatrist also, because I want to make sure that if, maybe I do need a little medicine adjustment on my anxiety meds or something, but I don't feel like I do. But
Yeah.
I still, there's nothing wrong with talking it out with them and just seeing how they react. If they,
Definitely.
because again, I can try it. If it doesn't, if it seems like too much, I can always go the other way, So I need to go get the estimate, as we've talked about before.
Absolutely.
Like, I think it's time for that. Just, just take it in, get the tune up, make sure everything's where it's supposed to be, kind of situation, and then move from there. So yeah, I think that's, well, and the other thing, obviously, well, not obviously, but today's my dad's birthday, and that's,
I did see that.
yeah, and that's, it's a lot better than it used to be for me. I've gotten now to where I celebrate my dad's birthday. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see this as a negative day like I did for a while, to where it was like a kick in the stomach kind of day. And like last night, I do what I always do, which is I got a Mountain Dew. I was going to get a lemon pie, but I couldn't find any at the grocery store, but they had little lemon cupcakes. So I got a lemon cupcake, because my dad and I used to get lemon, like, Hostess pies. And we would, when we were just spending time, just doing whatever, just loafing around or whatever. And, at that time we both were drinking Mountain Dew. So I'd get a Mountain Dew and a lemon thing, and kind of like, here's to you kind of thing. And, my mom and I each had one of the cupcakes, and, just kind of, did it in honor of him. And that's what I do every year, to kind of remember something him and I did. And, it wasn't, I mean, it's sad because, I don't have my dad. I miss him, obviously. But also, it's not tearing me up like it used to,
Good.
Now, the day of his death's a little different, but Father's Day and his birthday don't wreck me the way they used to. They, like I said, it's still a good punch in the stomach, but it's not like it used to be. So, so that's, I woke up today and I was a little down, but not terribly down, so, but I reposted that thing on Facebook, which was an old post that was a picture of him when he was much younger, and with a birthday cake. And it's just what I don't remember seeing that picture as a kid. I didn't see that picture until he died, and my grandma gave it to them for the for pictures at the funeral home, and it quickly became one of my favorite pictures of him, and especially for his birthday. It's the one that I like to look at and remember, because he seems pretty happy in the picture. And I don't know how old he is in the picture, but he looks, what do you think? He's probably like 20 or something in the picture, I'm guessing. Maybe in his teens, somewhere in that range. Not very old, but so yeah. So I think that's it for me.
I will say your dad, of course, was a very special man, and those of us that had the privilege to be able to get to know him and stuff really was an honor. And I know in hindsight we can remember people however we want to remember
Of
him.
course.
Them.
Right. Yeah. No one's without flaws, of course. Yeah.
Exactly. But he really,
He touched a lot of people, though. Yeah, he really
yeah,
did.
he's given me some major life lessons,
Yeah.
and one that I will pass on in his honor to our listeners is when he was diagnosed as terminal, and him and Brian's mom came home, and Brian and I were there, and they told us. Obviously, Brian, his mom, and I were very upset and crying. And I look over, and Woody was sitting in his chair and just sitting there. And I said, Woody, I have to ask, you don't seem very upset. And he looked at me and he said, Jen, I know what's going to happen to me. You guys don't know what the world is without me. I can understand why you guys will be upset.
Yeah.
But I know what's going to happen, so I'm okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he was never looking to die, but he very quickly got to the acceptance phase of his situation, you know.
And it wasn't stoicism. It wasn't, him, making this grand gesture,
No, not at all.
being a martyr or anything like that. It was just this very simple moment of, I get it.
Yeah.
This is the end of my path. He didn't get mad at us for being upset or anything like that.
No.
He accepted that this is what we needed to do, and he was there for it.
Yeah, like I will say, like he was never a person that showed a lot of emotion. Like honestly, even rage, madness, like he just was an even keel person most of the time. I mean, he had a temper. Yeah, he for sure had a temper about him. That runs for sure on both sides of my family. But he didn't really show it much. He usually had a pretty good grasp of like, this isn't worth me getting all tore up over. But he also was not the type to be like, knock your crying off, or he was not a cold person by any means. And he wasn't going to get on me or anybody else for showing emotion or being emotional because, we have that right. He's okay with that. But that wasn't how he was raised. Like he was raised in the old school of, men have basically two emotions, anger and horny, and he wasn't a real like huggy, lovey person. I mean, he hugged me and stuff, but it was like, that wasn't our thing. But he was never against he was never against displays of affection. That was never his thing. Like before he left, he always kissed my mom and, like all that kind of stuff. Like he never was, but he was just never, but also something that day was like him and my mom had already had an opportunity to really initially cry,
Yes.
So, and there is an element of he was probably in a little bit of shock still from the situation. But again, he was never, I'm just saying, but he was never really, he's never really a crier, and I saw him, I saw him cry a couple of times and it broke me because, like my dad does, like most guys, when you see your dad cry, that's like what,
You and Tony at Tony's dad's funeral.
Yeah.
I almost had to leave the room,
Right,
because just seeing you two.
Yeah.
But regardless, that will always stand out in my mind.
Yeah.
And as well as his humor.
Yeah.
Regardless of, as things progressed and stuff, and it even up to the end.
Yep.
The man he would let you have their moments of sadness, of poignant moments and things, but they wouldn't last long.
No.
Because as soon as he started feeling a little uncomfortable, there'd be a joke or he'd do something to break the mood.
Yeah.
He, it's like, okay, we can have this for a second or, for a minute.
I'm
Like,
very much like him in that regard, that I immediately go into, I don't want to sit in that sometimes. And I'm not good at it the way a lot of people are. And, the way I deal with that stuff is gallows humor, essentially, and it's not for everybody. And I understand that, like some people see it as inappropriate and I don't care. That's how I have to cope. And, I try not to be inappropriate. Like I'm not making, off color stuff, but it's like, again, it's like there's times in life where something's funny. It's funny. I can't help it, and there's just things, like I said, just some of the dumb stuff with him that we did over the years just will never not be in my head. I saw a car the other day that had the little triangle vent window, which you don't see in cars anymore.
Right.
They used to be in a lot of cars and vans and everything. And for those who don't know, it's like, you picture your window in your car, just in front of it, like it would be basically almost next to your side mirror. There'd be like a little triangle, and there'd be a little thing you could, you turn it forward, and then you could kind of angle the window out. It was so you could let a little bit of air in without having to put your whole window down, kind of a thing. And we used to do that and act like it was like, tornado gusts of wind coming in. And, my dad would grip the steering wheel, and I'm gripping the arm of the seat and everything, and act like we're, I'm like, I'm going to turn the air conditioning on, is what we always would say. And, he'd grip the steering wheel like he's going to get blown out of the car or something like that. And I saw a car with those windows the other day, and I immediately started laughing because I thought of that. And, and I can't, you can't do that dumb joke anymore because, like I said, no cars really have them anymore. That's a feature that they don't put on cars anymore for whatever reason. So, yeah. Probably because most cars in those days, a lot of those cars didn't have air conditioning.
Right. Exactly. That's
so
what it was.
yeah.
But that's what I mean. I had a celebration of life on Sunday, and it hit me even stronger when I was there, which is we have a choice in how we remember things.
Oh yeah.
We can't change them. We can learn from them. We can't change them, but we can learn from them. And once we've learned from them, we can choose what we take forward.
Yeah.
So, people have flaws. Yeah, people can be quite mean and do some nasty things. But do you want to choose to remember that negativity, that anger, that awfulness, and carry that forward with you?
Yeah.
Or do you want to bury that with them and carry forward with you any fond memories or any lessons learned from your experiences with them, good and bad?
Yeah.
Because you can learn just as much, if not more, from somebody. Like, I will not do what he did.
Right. Yeah. It's like, we're not going to bury the anger and hatred for like Hitler,
Right.
Like, no, we're still going to look at him as a monster. Like, but yeah. But like,
it's the note to self. It's like, note to self, don't do that.
Yeah.
Got it.
Right. Yeah. But you're right though, because I've seen, like watching, there's a show called Dark Side of the Ring where they do stories about like some really bad stuff that's happened to like pro wrestlers and different stuff. And, you realize what, like you grew up with them being the wrestler, and then they talk to like the person's kid and their wife or whatever. And you're just like, oh my God, you forget sometimes. It's like, oh yeah, this guy was also like a father of 3 and had a wife, and, like he was this whole other person. Like he wasn't this guy at home. He was a whole, like one of them I just watched was on Bam Bam Bigelow, and in wrestling, I mean, he's a big, powerful athlete. He's a large man, and very athletic and agile and all this kind of stuff. And, beat guys up in the ring. And he like was known for being kind of this brutish guy. And then they talk with his kids and they're like, he was the biggest teddy bear. They're like, he loved being a dad, like just could not love his kids enough, like that. And it's just like, oh, wow. And I don't want to parallel this, but it's like, a lot of times like we see stuff on TV where someone that's done something awful. In fact, in my life, I can think of a situation where someone I know, their dad did some awful stuff, like killed people. And it's like, you want to be mad, but at the end of the day, it was like, my friend called this guy dad and has those years of, this is my dad. and you're just like, you forget that when somebody does something awful. And like you said, you can choose, like in that scenario, it's like, which way, like him as a son, which way do I remember my dad now? Do I remember my dad as this guy that at the end of his life did something horrible, or do I remember the 20 years of my dad loving me and us, doing things as father and son? So it's an interesting situation sometimes, where sometimes you're right. If you can bury the anger and put it away and just try to remember some of the other stuff, it'll be better for you in the long run.
It serves you better.
Yeah.
And that's really, it's so tough because there is no black and white, right or wrong, good or bad when it comes to human beings.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there's societal rules, laws that get broken for sure.
Right. There's extremes for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in general, we're mostly in that gray area. I know there's people who don't like me that, think I'm awful in some way, shape, or form because of something that happened. I don't even remember what it would be, but I'm sure they're out there. We can't please everybody, and not everyone likes us.
Yeah.
I sure as heck hope that they don't carry that animosity or anything with them from us.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you hope you let it go at some point, for your own sake. Yeah. Or for their own sake.
Serve you. If it doesn't move you forward, if it's not something you can learn from, and all it does is hold you back, then you need to find a way to bury that and take with you the good. So often we get stuck with this, afraid to be optimistic, afraid to look for the good, because it makes us seem naive or simple, and that people are going to look down upon you because you have a positive outlook in how you want to remember things or remember someone.
Yeah.
Which is not true.
Yeah.
And if you're a positive person, or you're choosing to believe the best of somebody, or regardless they're here or not, and someone makes fun of you or makes you feel bad for that, that doesn't make you naive. That doesn't make you simple. It makes them an idiot. It makes them a jerk.
Well, we've talked on here before about how neither side of that, whether you're a positive or negative person, being an extreme of either of those things can be harmful in your life,
Absolutely.
Because you can keep walking into trap after trap after trap if you're only positive. You do need an element of you that can kind of see through the garbage sometimes, and see maybe that not everything's rosy. But, you also don't need to live the other way where, I'm aware of everything, because it's like, yeah, but you're going to be miserable because you're only looking for the negative in everything,
Yeah.
Like, you need to see some positive in things also, like you don't want to live in either extreme, really. It's neither one is great for you.
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree. I got distracted for a moment because I have a new roommate who decided to come out, and I have a feeling he used to have a bedtime around 10:30ish, because he seems to feel that it's time around 10:30ish to come out to stare at me and tell me it's time to go to bed. At least I'm assuming that's what this is.
Right.
Because we're just getting to know each other, so maybe something else. But it sure seems that around 10:30 he comes out and goes
Yeah.
at me. So for now, I just tossed him some kitty treats, so we'll see if he settles down a bit.
Right.
But anywho.
Well, that's big though, because you haven't had a pet living with you. I mean, you've done pet sitting, but you haven't had a pet of your own in a while now, which is, in all the time I've known you, been the longest time you've been without a pet that I can think of.
Well, from when I came home from the hospital, I have been without a pet for all of 2 weeks until I separated from my husband and had to leave my dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had a pet since April of last year.
Yeah. Because it's like, I know you've had a few patches where you didn't for like a couple weeks or in between a move. One time?
That's it.
I was thinking between when you moved out from your mom's house into your apartment, it was a little longer than that. No?
Nope, 2 weeks.
Oh,
Milo.
okay. I thought it was, I don't know why. I just thought it was longer than that. Okay. That's why I said I knew it wasn't very long, but, you know, I know.
It's 2 weeks of my life.
Yeah, that's why I said I know this gap here was easily the longest in the time I can think of.
Yeah, this is the first time ever in my life that nothing depended upon me. And as we've listening to the podcast, as everyone knows, really hard.
Yes.
Very, very, very hard.
Well, especially when you love animals as much as you do. And also you've talked on here before about anxiety issues, and just having that friend, you know, definitely can help, you know, when you have anxiety.
Bumps in the night hit differently when you have a cat in the house.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, yeah, because if you have a cat in the house, you just assume the cat's into something.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's bumps in the night and there's no animals around.
Until you sit up in bed. Until you sit up in bed and the cat's at the foot of the bed, like looking out the door, like, what's going on out there?
Yeah, exactly.
Then it's like, hey, go see what's out there. Yeah, no, you go. Yeah.
So, no, it is. It is a very big thing. The last month or so, I think I mentioned it before, you called it 100% right. I was setting down roots, and I finally set down roots. I have a gentleman in my life that is very good for me, very calming influence, but also
we're not talking about the cat anymore. Yeah.
No.
I mean, we could be. Cat is pretty independent, might be calming.
So there is a gentleman in my world that's very independent, but very supporting and calming influence on me. And I feel that I have a very positive and kind of pushing him outside a little bit of this comfort zone.
Yeah.
Part going for me.
Which
which
isn't bad. You know, I saw somebody on Twitter yesterday that was like, to all the laid back guys, why do you always go for the over the top women? And, you know, it's a, you know, a guy responds with like, what was it? It's a joke. He's like, cause someone's got to tell them they undercooked my potatoes and it isn't going to be me or something like that, you know? And I was like, but it is true. I hate when you see two introverts or two extroverts a lot of times together, because, you know, it's like, you know, as someone who needs that kick in the butt sometimes to be more social, to do that. It's like, you know, I need someone like that in my life. If I was with someone who was also an introvert, oh my God, we'd probably just stay home and DoorDash all the time. You know, like that isn't a good thing. Like I need somebody who's like, hey, we need to get out of this house once in a while. It's like, okay, yeah, let's do that, you know? So I think that's good sometimes, as long as you're a person who responds well to those things, you know?
And it feels good that, you know, we're very comfortable with each other, and we kind of get each other.
Yeah.
We did on Friday, we were goofing around and we did like 2 truths and a lie.
Yeah.
And I did, I think, three truths and a lie. And I shot him at him and he guessed incorrectly. And he's like, but this is really tough because I can see you doing all of these things. I'm like, well, thanks. He's like, yeah, you're the type of person that you want to do something, you do it. And I was very, not impressed, I'm trying to think, flattered. I was very flattered that that's how he sees me. And one of the things that he told me the first time we talked on the phone, afterwards, he's like, I know you're going to be really good for me in my life. You already have me thinking differently about things, about situations that are actively going on right now.
Yeah.
Again, huge compliment.
Yeah.
You know, how much more of a compliment could you get from someone?
Right. It's always nice, like, when somebody sees you as the, like, calm in their thunderstorm, you know, like, that they're like, my head is just constant anxiety or this or this or that. And it's like, and you're just like, you know, hey, it's going to be all right, you know, and you're like, oh, yeah, you know, maybe it is.
It's just, it's really good.
Yeah.
You know, it's very early. We're still figuring things out, stuff, but we have a really good connection. And I truly feel that he sees me, and I'm not too much.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I have too much moments, but
Yeah. Well, it's like you said, it's like
right. Anybody does.
No.
Finds them more amusing.
Yeah, well, sure, because it's new. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but yeah, that's what I noticed too. Is it's very much like, like I told you a long time ago. It's like you're a lot, but you're worth it. Like the payoff is good. It's not, you're not just like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
like we all are, really, like you were saying a minute ago. Like we all are. We all have our moments where we're too much, or we're not, maybe not too much, but we're a lot, and some people can't handle that, and that's okay. That just means you're not my person, kind of a thing, or whatever, or you're not the person for this scenario. Maybe but usually by that point in your life, you'll have somebody who's okay in those scenarios for you, like, hey, maybe you can't handle this, but I have a really good friend that I can call, and they're amazing for this, because they've known me for 30 years or whatever, and they know how to immediately kind of, pat me on the head and calm me back down, so
Yeah.
that's, like I said, that's okay. Not everybody can be everyone to you, and that's all right. That's
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So it's cool. And so yeah. So I set down my roots. I have a stable person in my world that I'm enjoying.
Yeah.
And
He seemed to fit in and get along with us pretty well. Sense of humor fit in pretty well with us. So, that's always nice, because there's nothing worse than when someone's like, oh my God, I've met somebody, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you guys have to meet them. And then you meet them and you're just like, oh, they're dull as a box of rocks, like.
I know. Well, it was so funny because afterwards, I was talking with him and he's like, Ryan is hilarious. I said, yes, he is. I said, but he's more of the, what do I call it? Special event type of guy.
Yeah.
And he laughed.
Yeah.
I'm like,
And it's funny because, like, to peel the curtain back, since, this is very relevant to this show, especially, is that after that, like, I felt at ease the whole time, obviously, because you could tell how much I talked. And even though I can be a nervous talker, I'm usually more of, when I'm nervous, usually I shut up more and kind of
and I'm a
back off.
talker,
Yeah.
but I was quiet and you.
Right. And I really, this is going to sound so arrogant, but I felt like I was commanding the room, and I remember years ago, Jeannie telling me that when I walk in a room, people listen to me, and I never saw that for a long time. But later on, I was going through I was running my mouth a lot. Like, did I ever shut up? Like, I hope I wasn't too, right? I'm going through that stuff.
Yeah.
And, which on one hand is good, because that also means that you care about the people you're around. Like, because you're like, oh man, did I not let other people talk? Did I, like, when I do it anyway, maybe not everybody, but when I do it, that's usually the way my brain's going is, oh man, I hope other people felt like they were part of a conversation. I hope I didn't not let others talk, that kind of thing. But it was funny because, like, I haven't really had that in a while, because most of the people I'm around, there's no one new, so since I'm around, like, how I am, Tony knows how I am, Jeannie knows how I am, you know what I mean? So it's like, if I'm a certain way, it's like, well, they know that. They've all known me for forever, So it's weird when there's new people, because, like, even like one of the times Tony and I were at Pavlov's and we sat at the bar, and this one bartender, I mean, she was busting our balls, just crushing us. Like, and we're trying to keep up with her. She was destroying us, right? In the best way, absolute best way, right? We were having a blast. And I even had that thought that night, because, again, it was someone new, to where I'm like, oh, I hope I didn't cross the line at any point, or blah, 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 those guys. And it was like, she seemed like she was having a lot of fun with us, though. So it was like, and I even asked Tony the next day, I'm like, were we, he's like, I don't think so. He's like, I think we were just busting balls and having fun. And I was like, okay, but yeah, it was, I found that really interesting that I still went through that afterward. Because like I said, it very much showed me for myself, I feel good in that, because that also that still proves in my head that I'm not doing something for like selfish reasons,
But you care. You care
Yeah.
about other people's opinions and thoughts.
and I want everyone to have fun, and I want people to feel like they're part of things. I don't want to feel like I'm, the only one.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was really good, and I'm thrilled with that he fit so well with you guys and my friends. And then and tomorrow I'm going to my aunt's cabin, so Lake Cottage, I should say, with some family. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Is this the first time he's meeting them?
This is the first time he's meeting them. He's meeting MK&M and Mom.
Right. Okay.
And of course, mom's boyfriend.
He's gonna love.
So he's going up for the afternoon. He's coming up. So
Okay. Cool.
yeah, I have no doubt that he's gonna fit right in. Yeah, I have no doubt. So
Yeah, I would think so too.
looking forward to that. Yeah, and I'm with you though. This last week has been a lot of peopling, and it's been a lot of me being on.
Yeah.
What was it? Wednesday night, I had to isolate. And then pretty much I isolated up until yesterday.
Yeah.
So I isolated Wednesday and Thursday night, and then Friday I worked from home half a day, and then the second half of the day, all of a sudden I get this massive spur of adulting. I did all of my laundry, and I went to the grocery store, bought all the things, came home, did a bunch of meal prep, threw a bunch of stuff in the freezer. Yeah, I was adulting the hell out of adulting.
I do not mean to minimize, but I have to ask, was that a manic situation, or was it just you just had a burst of energy?
I honestly think I just had a burst of energy.
Because I know, obviously, they both are very similar. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it was because I had kind of been isolating the last 2 nights and I was bored and I needed something to do. And yeah, so I think it was a very natural progression.
Okay, good.
As to how it came to be.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, and then today I didn't have anything to do because I did all my chores on Friday. So today I ended up going to Goodwill and doing some shopping, and then I bought the fixings for the absolute best BLT. I did that on Friday, so I prepared it all and and went over to Mom's.
I mean, I need to know what makes it the absolute best BLT.
The bacon.
Yeah.
You have to have the fresh tomatoes, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Well, really, you need like garden fresh tomatoes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You need
or farmer's market tomatoes. Yeah.
Very nice tomato, right?
Yeah, right.
Then I make my own mayo.
Right.
And then my mayo is more of a Dijonnaise type of a thing. It's mayonnaise and Dijon mustard kind of mixed together a bit.
Right.
But it's made from scratch.
Mustard mayonnaise, yeah. It's a thing from Mr. Show. It's a really funny sketch. Okay. They just keep upping it to where it starts as mustardaise or something like that, where it's the two, and then it's mustard mayonnaise, and like they just keep upping the name to where it's like I think it's like 2 companies that are rivaling each other, and they keep just one-upping each other. Sorry, go ahead.
Gotcha. So, and then the bacon.
Yeah.
So, do not buy the packaged bacon.
Right.
You have to go to the deli. You get the deli slab bacon.
Okay.
Extra thick, right? Or minimum of thick.
Right.
Then you take the bacon, usually hickory. If you want the sweetened stuff, fine.
Yeah.
But I normally just go regular hickory. How you make bacon, the best way I found, take 2 sheet pans, a bunch of tin foil, and a cookie rack.
Yeah.
So obviously,
this was something I was curious about in this because I remember you having issues with frying bacon. That was part of why I was like, I was curious on how I figured you'd have to go oven. So, okay. Also, that really is the best bacon.
And it is virtually smoke-free. You
Yeah.
do get a little smoking, but for the most part, you don't get any smoke.
Mm.
So, cookie tray covered in tin foil. You put the cookie drying rack, the metal rack,
Yeah.
on top of the tin foil. Line the rack with your bacon. Then you take the second cookie tray, cover the back of it with tin foil, push it down on top of the bacon.
Right.
Take said sandwich, stick it in the oven at 400 degrees, 10 minutes, flip, just spin it. You don't actually have to flip the bacon.
Right.
Just spin it, another 10 minutes, and then check it. It has nice little crispy outsides, chewy on the inner piece of the bacon, and evenly cooked all the way.
Yeah, for anyone listening, if you haven't had bacon in your oven, like if you still fry it in a pan or something like that, you really should do yourself a favor and do it in the oven. It's so much better. All right, so last question. I know we should move on from food, but what kind of bread do you use?
I use thin sliced. I like the low carb one.
Oh,
I
okay.
use white.
Okay.
Thin sliced white.
Okay.
And
I was just curious. Some people like to use
three
fancier.
pieces.
Okay. Some people like to use fancier breads. I don't. I just use white bread, or I use whatever bread we have at the time. Usually it's like an oat bread or, whatever. So, or a wheat bread of some sort. I was just curious if, like I said, I know
For me,
some
the
people get
star is
crazy.
The tomato and the bacon.
The
So
tomato
I don't.
can kill the sandwich. Yeah.
I don't want a lot of much of anything from my bread other than being a vehicle.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Nothing
So-
makes me madder than when somebody will tell me BLT and then I see him doing a lettuce wrap and I'm like, stop it. Get that out of here. You got to have bread. I need that credit.
This vehicle. For it.
I need to toast that bread and I need that too. So, okay. All right. Anyway, moving on.
Familiar with that.
Yeah.
So, it's just, I'm at that point in my world that I'm confident and comfortable in where I'm at and in who I am.
Yeah.
I feel good about being my own advocate, not worrying about making everyone else happy or the worrying about appearances, but not going too far the other way, which I have in the past, which is, didn't care about anybody or any
Yeah.
type of a
Right.
attitude.
Yep.
I just feel balanced, and it's really awesome. It's a little disconcerting because it's kind of a new place for me. I'm very rarely have I ever been in a balanced world. Now, it's going to change. As we all know, balanced cannot stay balanced.
Yeah.
But
Usually.
at this moment in time, I feel balanced, and I'm going to enjoy it.
Good.
So, the balance will be upset, I'm sure, fairly soon at some
yeah.
point.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
we've talked countless times out here, life shit, like something always gets thrown at you to throw you out of whack and, how you respond to it and, makes all the difference in the world. So you're not, flipping out and like, oh, something threw me to the left, a big way. Oh, well, I have to adjust by going way to the right. It's like, no, that's not good either.
Yeah.
Oh, now you're tipping the other way. Yeah.
So, but that's all I had. I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? I think we're about an hour, aren't we?
Yeah, we're almost right on an hour, actually. I was just looking to see if there's anything.
We kind of talked about some good stuff in
Yeah.
between our shares.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've got, I have other things, but I don't know. I just don't feel that they really kind of fit the vibe. So, yeah. But, yeah, it's really interesting going into, this stuff because I, like even doing podcasts and stuff, like, I feel weird about the, like the socializing on that end of things even, it's become a thing. So yeah, it's interesting how that balance in life, it's weird, like, when we don't do this show and I haven't been in therapy, how far I feel like I'm tipping one way, kind of a thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And doing the show helps, but it's still not the full writing of the course, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know what you mean. It is weird, though, because I feel in a lot of ways like I've kind of accepted things differently than I have been. And I'm like, there's things I want to make changes on, and I just have to find the energy to to be able to do them, you know? So, yeah. I think, like you said, I think we're pretty much good, though.
Awesome. All right, folks. You know it's that time. Don't stop listening. We're going to give you some good stuff after this. Just bear with us. All right. So, covered a lot of topics today. A lot of really cool stuff. Check out Hanno's car. Stop by and say hi to him on Facebook or Twitter or anywhere else you see him. Let him know that you miss him. We miss you. Yeah. And so if you want to reach out to us and you'd like to continue the conversation, because we want to hear from you, go ahead and reach out to us at the Crazy Life Podcast crazylifepodcast@outlook.com is our email address. crazylifepodcast.weebly.com is our website. You can reach me by just shooting an email to the crazylifepodcast@outlook.com. Say, hey, Jen, and I'll be happy to answer you. Or you can find me on Facebook through the Facebook page. And Brian, how can they find Hanno and you?
You can find me on most social media. If I'm on it, it'll be at Stunami. You can find my other podcast, which is called Salty Language, at salty_language on Twitter. Or at saltylanguage.com has all the links to our socials and such. It's just me and my best friend Tony talking about just all sorts of stuff, like the Dark Side of the Ring show that I talked about. I talked about how I watched the newest season of that. We talked about there's apparently a drug going to trial soon, within the next year, that dentists think can regrow teeth. And
Ooh.
We talked about how that could be exciting and or terrifying. But, we talked about, what we had been watching that week and that kind of stuff too. So if you're into any of that stuff, give us a listen. Show's not safe for work, so please be careful with that. You can find this show on Twitter at the Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. You can find Henno on Twitter at IdaHenno, and I know it's called X now, so I don't need anybody to correct me on that, but I just refuse to call it X because it's a stupid switch. You can find our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/crazylifepodcast. And you can also, or please go check out the network we're part of, which is Tangent Bound Network. It can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. So please go check out the other shows there. And with that, as always, please reach out if you need help, and please check on your friends, especially if you haven't heard from them for a while, or if you know they're going through something tough, and, just let them know that, you're there if they need you, that kind of thing. And also, just please be kind to other people, or be nice to them. It's so amazing, because I'm always, every time people tell me that, humanity's doomed and there's all this negativity and all this in the world, which there is, don't get me wrong. There's this like cloud that people are feeling right now. But then you see something like, the fires in Maui, and how awful that is, of course. And, this is, if Henno were here, I'm sure he'd talk more about that, because some of the areas that burned are places he used to go visit every year. Anyway, which, that's a horrible situation. But I've seen so many people that I know don't have much give. There were people who lived there, who lived in an area that isn't burning, that are immediately going over to try to be, responders and help in any way they can. You see people donating to like the World Central Kitchen, because, they're sending people over there to feed the first responders and whatever. And, there's all this kind of stuff going on in light of something horrible happening, you know? So it's like we said earlier, it's like you can choose to only see the cloud, or you can also look to see if there's cracks with sunlight, you know? And you know, so please, you know, put kindness out there, do what you can. Or, you know, if you can give to something that may help the people out there, or any of the other, you know, wildfires or whatever your cause is, you know, please do. You know, if you can't, that's understandable too. There's still things you can do, you know, retweet things, you know, retweet links or whatever as they come across you and stuff like that. So just please be kind, help somebody when you can, and, you know, just try not to be a garbage person when you're out in the world. Think outside yourself a little bit.
Yeah, in the great paraphrase of the amazing Leo Buscaglia, when you're going out and picking poop up in the yard, make sure you look for the roses. With that, go out and have the best week you possibly can, or weeks. And we will be here in 2 weeks or so.
Yep.
Maybe sooner, maybe later. Anyhow, watch for it. We'll drop a new one as soon as we can, folks. So enjoy yourselves, be happy, be safe, and live a good life. With that, we're out.